Hello YouTube, Shadow Hero 90 here. As you can already tell, I've been doing this show for about 3 years at this point, and in addition to the reasons as to why I do this, which I brought up last year, I am now actually going to state a few more reasons why I do this. One of which is that the portrayal of men in movies and TV is essentially toxic. And I mean really toxic. Men are... To be honest, I can't believe that I'm one of the only very few people who legitimately thinks that this kind of portrayal is not only toxic, but completely unfair. Second of which is the fact that these cartoons are aimed at kids, and they do not send a good message. Most of the time, a lot of these shows are role model shows, and the characters exist for the sole purpose to be imitated, and yeah, in doing so, you send some really horrible messages. And the last possible reason I could think of is that not this, but all these shows are pushing a political agenda. To be more precise, the political agenda comes in the form of a princess character whose initials are J and B. I'm pretty sure you can figure out who I'm talking about on those initials alone. But yes, a lot of these shows, and to extension, a lot of these role model shows, are pushing a political agenda. And as a white heterosexual man, I really don't want kids being indoctrinated because it could lead to a bad future. In fact, I really hope some really smart boy sees this show and it actually gets him thinking about sexism, and it causes him not to be indoctrinated to the feminist agenda that a lot of TV shows, cartoons, and movies are pushing. Especially a certain movie that will go unnamed that used a princess character whose initials are J and B to push their political agenda. As much as this intro actually does seem like a bad rant about the negative presentation of men and boys in the media, this is completely serious, and these 3 reasons I gave for doing the show are actual reasons. Now, that being said, if you agree with me on this, that's good. So just sit back and enjoy the review. Okay, in this episode of Sexism in Movies and TV, I'm going to be reviewing the episode Bart's Girlfriend. I'll be honest, this episode really ignites a lot of anger within me, just because of how it's set up. This episode heavily focuses on the pervert trope. Something that at the end of the year I intend to rip to shreds. But just be warned, I fucking hate this episode. Okay, this episode starts with Bart and Lisa playing with their friends on Sunday, one of the very few days they have off from school, right up until their parents round them up for church. Okay, on the way to church, Marge, the blue-haired idiot, says that the kids need to go to church to learn morals and how to treat their fellow man. You want to remember that? Because it's going to bite this episode in the ass. Reverend Lovejoy then reveals that his cunt daughter, Jessica, is back from boarding school and is going to read the same piece of crap that he just did. Because he noticed that Bart Simpson wasn't paying attention? That's just stupid. Bart Simpson sees her and he's instantly in love. I really don't know what they were going for with this episode. It pretty much seems like they're saying he's in love with her, but at the same time, it sounds like they're saying he's thinking with his dick. Bart Simpson then tries everything to win Jessica Lovejoy's heart. He does everything to impress her, even resorts to going to Sunday school, something he originally hated. But it all blows up in his face. After playing a prank on groundskeeper Willie, which was pretty much a sting operation by Principal Skinner, Jessica actually notices him. So then Bart Simpson has dinner with Reverend Lovejoy and his wife and daughter. And it does not go well. And then, on his way home, we find out that Jessica sneaked out of her room to go see Bart. But believe me, she has no interest in him whatsoever. As shown in this scene here, when Bart Simpson tells his friends that happened, that he went out on a date with Jessica, but in reality, she'd be embarrassed to tell anyone she was dating Bart Simpson for some reason. Which gets Bart punched in the stomach by Nelson Muntz because that cunt Jessica wouldn't admit that she was with him. Oh, but it gets worse. When Bart asks Jessica if she wants to go skateboarding with him, she agrees, but only to toy with his emotions and put him in danger for her own amusement. She sent him down a very steep hill on a driveway through oil and glue. And for the record, Bart Simpson knew this was dangerous, but Jessica shoved him anyways. This is clearly an abusive relationship. Homer and Marge see Bart come home with the cat stuck to his back by means of glue, and they're such crappy parents that they don't even think about looking into what could be going on. They don't know that their son is in an abusive relationship. Then, the next day, Jessica tricks Bart and uses him to pull the fire alarm. Okay, where do I even begin? This is messed up on so many levels. One, she's just playing with his emotions for his amusement. And two, this is something that could get Bart Simpson into massive trouble, because we all know Jessica Lovejoy is the kind of cunt who would lie and say she had nothing to do with it. Bart tells Lisa, who is completely shocked to learn the truth about what Jessica Lovejoy really is. To be honest, this episode kind of frames it like Bart is thinking with his dick, but it's really more like he's in love with her. And despite future seasons painting him, or at least wanting you to think he's immature, his behavior in the entire episode seems really mature. But that aside, Bart Simpson is very much written out of character in this episode. Bart's plan is that he just has to put up with this abuse for 7 more years. Then him and Jessica would get married. But if he's basing this on the logic of his parents' marriage, that might not happen. It could, but knowing the kind of person Jessica is, and yeah, Bart completely based this off of Homer and Marge's relationship, which by no means went well. He thinks if he gets her pregnant that she'll start treating him right by the time the first baby comes around. Knowing the kind of person Jessica Lovejoy is, she's most likely going to use the whole custody thing to force Bart to pay her money for 18 years. Which is a good thing that Bart's plan didn't work in this episode. Lisa says that love is not about changing a person while fantasizing about a boy at the library, who's apparently her crush. Bart tries to basically give Jessica up altogether, but it's clear that love has made him so weak that he can't last a day without her. Okay, now this is the part of the episode that really gets me fucking pissed off. Jessica steals from the donation tray, pins it on Bart, and everyone in town calls him a criminal because he's too much in love with this little cunt to rat her out, even though he should. He even took the fucking blame for her. He can't even, he's so in love with this piece of trash that he can't even tell his parents, who would trust him, the truth. And here's something I kind of want to basically say about this episode. Bart Simpson is constantly getting strangled by his deranged asshole of a father. And this is why episodes like Bart's Girlfriend fail. When you see a child getting strangled by an adult, you don't want to see that child get framed and the bitch who framed him get let off the hook. If anything, you want to see the girl who framed him get strangled. And ironically, his knucklehead mom believes him, even though it's her fault. It's her goddamn fault he's in this mess. You know what? No. I'm gonna go back in the episode to something this idiot said. Bart asks his mom, by quote, "Why the crap do we have to go to church anyways?" And that buffoon's response is to learn morals, decency, and how to love their fellow man. All it did was put him in an abusive relationship. It didn't teach him anything. If anything, it kind of justifies Bart's words in a future episode when he said that when love fails, there's always a video game that can make you feel better. Okay, so now the town harasses Bart, calls him a thief, crook. Bart Simpson goes to Jessica Lovejoy to try and get her to confess. And she reveals her true colors by not coming forward. It's obvious that she doesn't care about him and never did. He was just a source of amusement for her. And then he was the pawn for her big heist. So the next week, Lisa pretty much rats out that it was Jessica Lovejoy because apparently Bart Simpson no longer has the willpower to even fight back. They find the money in Jessica Lovejoy's room, you know, the stolen church money that they've been harassing Bart for. Yeah, the son that they got locked up like he's Hannibal fucking Lecter. This is the punishment Jessica Lovejoy deserved. Not being forced to clean up the church. She convinces Bart to do her punishment for her. Then she goes with Lisa's crush. Bart makes a joke about how this guy doesn't know what he's in for. This episode is a fucking piece of shit. And yes, I'll say it. This episode makes Lisa Goes Gaga and Boys of Bummer look like fucking masterpieces. People often say on YouTube that The Simpsons died right around the episode Homer's Enemy. But this episode came out before that, and people go on about how great early Simpsons was, and how it was satirical, and how it was actually funny back then. From where I'm standing, The Simpsons' best episodes came out in the 2000 era. And this episode came out during the glory days of The Simpsons. People say The Simpsons is supposed to be satire. Well, what the hell is this supposed to be poking fun at? I don't know. The pervert trope? in short, this episode sucks.